What's up, peeps? This is Rondell coming at you again from Baltimore Muscle, and this is a Baltimore Muscle rant. As you know, we are a bodybuilding channel that promotes bodybuilding, fitness, weight training, all around fitness and wellness. But every now and then, specifically every Friday, what we're going to do is this is a new segment starting today, a new segment called the Baltimore Muscle Rant. And we're going to bring it to you every Friday. And it talks about, whatever I have a problem with, I'm going to sit down and talk it over with my fans and with the public. So continue to share, subscribe to the channel, like, share the comment, because that helps me bring this content to you. If you're interested, go ahead and hit that like button. And this is my reason why. This is what I believe, that slavery did not happen, at least the way we were taught and the way we were told. So again, stay there. Hold tight, stay tuned, and listen. Now, again, this is why I don't believe slavery happened, at least the way we were told. Now, number one question, why didn't we go back? When we were freed, so-called freed, emancipated by the Emancipation Proclamation by Lincoln, why didn't we go back? Why didn't we go home? Why weren't we on the first thing smoking right back to Africa, where we so-called came from? Why didn't we go back? For instance, right here, look at this. This right here says, during the early parts of the emancipation, some freedmen and women signed into contracts with their former owners and decided to stay on the plantation. They signed contracts. So in other words, they were pretty much now employed by their former plantation holders, by their former owners. Or this, you see this right here. During these days of freedom, the early days of freedom, freed men and women were content with now faced with challenges of looking for a place to live, looking for food, and trying to find their loved ones. We weren't trying to go back to Africa. They were looking for places to live and trying to find their loved ones and looking for food. So pretty much they were looking for somewhere to go. Again, people, I say, why didn't they go back? Why weren't they thinking about going back to Africa from whatever country they were kidnapped from? Ghana, Nigeria, the Ivory Coast, Sierra Leone, Congo, wherever. Ethiopia. Why weren't they interested in going back? Why weren't they appealing to the United States government or whatever government that they had to appeal to? Let's say the Southern government, like in the South, that's where most of the slaves were. We were told that's where they were. Why weren't they trying to go back? Again, why weren't they on the first thing smoking or first thing steaming like they had back then, steamboats, and they had physical boats? Why weren't they spending this time trying to build this boat to go back to Africa across the Atlantic where they came from, if that's where they came from? Why weren't they doing that instead of worrying about going into contracts and decided to stay on the plantation where they treated so horribly, where they were slaves? Who in their right mind will stay somewhere they don't want to be when they have loved ones that they're trying to go back to? It doesn't make sense. I give an example. Like me living right now, me living in Ohio. If I was kidnapped from the state of Maryland and brought to Ohio to work without money, without compensation, free labor, well, basically turned to slave, turned to peon, kidnapped from Maryland. If I was freed by the state of Ohio, no, if I was kidnapped from Ohio, let's put it this way, taken to the state of Maryland, and then I was freed, why won't I be in this hurry to go back to Maryland with my loved ones? Why would I stay in Ohio to work and look for a place to live, look for a place to stay, look for food to eat, and look for my loved ones? Why would I stay there and look for a place to live? Why aren't I on the first thing smoking, the first thing steaming, to get out of Maryland to come back to Ohio where my loved ones are? I would not stay in Maryland and go into a contract with the people who hit me over the head in Ohio and took me to Maryland. No, and made me work for free. Hell no. Who does that? Where they do that at? You see what I mean? Who would stay in a place where they were kidnapped and bought and forced to work and treated so horribly, beaten, whipped, killed, hung, skinned alive. All these things that they said were done to slaves. Why would I stay and do that? I would be on the first thing back to Ohio to be with my loved ones. And it says here, another example, right here, it said American natives stayed here and did trade with the settlers. There were people that did trade with the settlers. They did business with them. These were the American Indians. They call them Native Americans, but anyone's a Native American. If you're born in America, you're a Native American. But no, I'm talking about the real deal. American Indians, like me and you and the people in my community. The reason why we did not go back to Africa, because we did not come from Africa. The only ones that come from Africa are the ones that came in as immigrants, not at the so-called slave trade. No, it's not the way it happened. Why would you go all the way to Africa, all the way across the Atlantic, to get something you already have here? An example, if you need steak, if you want steak for dinner, and you have a freezer full of steak, all kinds of steak, sirloin, T-bone, New York strip, porterhouse, all kinds of steak, and you have a freezer full of that. Why would you get in your car and go to the supermarket to go buy steak when you have a freezer full of steak here? So why are we going all the way across the Atlantic, thousands of miles away, to get somebody to force to work at night when we already have somebody here? Millions of people here that are already here to make work for free. Why would we go to Africa? It makes no sense. Make it make sense to me, people. Like they say, make it make sense. The ones that were forced into uncompensated labor was us, the indigenous Indian people, the indigenous people that were already here when the so-called settlers came, when the Spanish came, when the British came. We were already here. Again, like I said here, this example, we were doing business with the settlers. Business. We were doing business. We were exporting and importing with the settlers. We were exporting stuff like tobacco, corn, even rice, pumpkin, even squash, pumpkins. Like when Thanksgiving comes, you see the pumpkin is in the spotlight. Tobacco, especially tobacco. Tobacco was the #1 cash crop for the British. We were here smoking it, lighting it up and smoking it all the time. Even weed, marijuana, we would light it up and smoking it. It's called the peace pipe. When they sat down to do the peace smoke, that was a peaceful gathering. That's why weed makes you feel relaxed, make you chill, make you feel like you want to lay back and discuss business, to get rid of all the animosity, put everybody on that chill mode, and they smoke the peace pipe. When everybody's chilling on that laid back mode, there's peace. That's why that was called the peace pipe. Hey, so what are we smoking that makes everybody so laid back? What drug do you know that you smoke that makes you laid back and cool? And a hint, not talking about crack. No. What drug that you know to this day that you smoke that makes you feel cool and laid back, makes you feel like, puts you in a peaceful mode? You see, so what was in that peace pipe? I'm going to leave that up to you guys to figure that out. So it was already here. We were already had the tobacco. We already had the stuff for the peace pipe. You see what I mean? We already Google that. I want you to look that up and see Indian peace pipe. What is it? What were they smoking when they were sitting down talking to the settlers trying to discuss peace? You see? It makes no sense. Where are the slave ships? So where are they? I once read an article that said they found remnants or pieces of Noah's Ark. And I'm thinking, what? Are you serious? How could you find something that was thousands of years ago? But you can't find me anything that was just about 200 or 300, 400 years ago, just half a century. And back then, I suppose, what I'm guessing, because everything was a little more pure back then, they had rigged those boats and ships out of real solid wood. You know what I'm saying? That will last a while. Not the cheap stuff you see going around within the last 40, 50, 30 years. You know what I'm saying? So where are the slave ships? They said they found the Titanic. How long has the Titanic been underwater? That's over 100 years old. You see, I think the Titanic shipwreck is coming up on about a buck and a half, about 150 something years now. You see, so you can't find me a single slave ship remnant. If you can find it, prove it. Come into the comments, show it to me, send it to me. Send me a picture of a slave ship that was built. And what countries were these people taken out of in Africa? You can't just go into a country and kidnap somebody without the king or the queen or the powers that be knowing about this. You can't just go into Africa and kidnap people. It doesn't work that way. You understand what I'm saying? You can't just go willy-nilly into a country, walk along and say, hey, let's get those group of people walking there. Where's the war? Where's the declaration of war? Hey, you are coming taking my people by the millions and taking them out of my country, kidnapping them. Where's the war? Where's the outrage? See, where's the outcry from Africa? And we're over here calling ourselves African Americans and being pissed at America for treating us this way. Hey, where's your gripe with the country you were taken out of? Where's their outcry? Where's their uproar, their outrage, their outrage? Where is their declaration of war to say, hey, you came and took my people out of here. I'm on reparations for my country. Reparations. That's another point. How can you claim reparations when you were from another country? Your country owe you reparations from allowing the abuse. They allow you to just come waltz in there. These people to come waltz in there and kidnap you without any repercussion. Where's the outrage on the country that you were kidnapped from? People say, well, I need reparations. We were bought over here. We're bought over here from where? Africa. Where in Africa? Africa's divvied up into a lot of different countries. Start counting. Can you figure out which one you were kidnapped from? And then you go there and say, hey, you guys should have fought for me. I'm going to tell you what's old. What's old is the land back to you and me. The indigenous people that were here that was stolen from us. You come from Africa. You didn't get any land stolen from you. Right? All the white people that went to Africa, they over there working on that land. Africa's dealing with people that stuff that is being stolen from them. You deal over here where you from, and you deal with what was stolen from you here. Don't worry about what was stolen from Africa. Don't worry about Africa. You weren't from Africa. You were here. Your ancestors are here. My grandfather, my grandparents, my great-grandparents, and my great-great-grandparents were all born on reservations here. I am an ancestor of reservation. I am a product of reservation living. There were no Africans on reservations. They were on plantations, but they were not on reservations. The indigenous were on reservations. The Africans came over here living their lives, looking for work, working, trying to survive, because they came over as immigrants. Same as the Jews, same as the Polish, same as the Sicilians, the Italians, same as the Japanese, the Chinese, the Koreans. They all came over here as immigrants, just like the other Africans, the Ghanaians, the Ethiopians, the Brazilians, the Haitians, the people from the Caribbeans, all came over here as immigrants, not slaves. They were all indigenous people that were forced here to work. You see? I've showed you the proof. I've showed you about, again, some of the freedmen and women entered into contracts because they wanted jobs. So they pretty much signed A work application, pretty much find a sign employment application. An employment application is a contract. Believe it or not, it is a signed contract. Signed by whom? By you. What do you do at the end of an application contract? You sign it. So it is a contract. It is a binding legal contract. Bottom line. So if they entered into a contract, the freedmen and women, why are you signing into a contract to stay at this place that has treated you so damn bad? Why aren't you back to Ghana? Why aren't you going back to Nigeria or wherever you were kidnapped from? Why aren't you going back to Ethiopia? To your loved ones. If you were here for like 10 years, you don't forget you have loved ones over in the country you were kidnapped from. You're going to tell me, well, they didn't know what country they were kidnapped from. All of that dumb and stupid, then they deserve what they get. Come on. No. Who from Africa would know the lay of the land? How could you take someone from Africa and make them work on this land and tell them do this, do this, do this, do this, do that? How would they know the lay of the land? How would you expect them to come from another country, 1,000 miles away, and work the lay of the land here? And even if you did say, oh, well, they could have learned by who? The settlers couldn't teach them because they didn't know a damn thing about it. Who taught the Africans to come and how to do this land? We did. Indigenous Americans. Even if you did say they came over here, who taught those Africans how to, the lay of the land and how to plant this and plant that? Who taught them what to eat and what not to eat? The same people who taught the settlers when they came over here dying out, becoming extinct. It was the indigenous, you and me, brother, our community. Yes, the black community, if you want me to, if I must say that. Why do you think we've not gone anywhere? We were all Africans. We would have been taken out of this country. It would be all Caucasian. If these were all Africans that came over here, and we were all African Americans, then that meant what are Caucasians? We would have been out here. Why do you think, despite what goes on, despite what they've done, we are still here? Because this is our country. Reparations? No, there is no money reparations. Reparations, all they have to do is turn the land back over to you, give you what's yours, give you what was stolen. If you want, stop, well, you could use the word reparations, say, well, I don't want reparations. I just want what was stolen from me. Bam, and you're done. Doesn't have to be reparations in a cash form. What is cash reparations? That's not what I lost. You lost land. You did not lose cash. Now you could say, oh, well, cash, money, what's the difference? They pay us something. No, you don't want something. You want what was taken from you. If you had a bicycle, if your child had a bicycle and they had it outside, they ride their bicycle, they left it outside, they run in to get something to drink or something to eat. Someone comes and steals their bicycle. Okay, child goes out, my bicycle is gone. You go find out who got it. You go find out, somebody say, well, there it is right there. You find out what neighbor's child took your bike. Now, when you go to that bike, are you going to say, hey, I paid $50 for this. I want you to give me $50 for this bike. No, you're not going to do that. The average person will not do that. The average person will go there and say, hey, your son stole my son's bike. I want it back. Okay, give me back my bike. You don't have to give me money. I've already paid for this. This bike belongs to my son. I don't want money. I want my bike back. People, we don't want money. We want our land back. Think about this. Think about all these multi-billion-dollar corporations that are built on your land. All you gotta do is say, hey, I want my land back. Okay, give it back. Okay, right now, you want to continue to operate on my land? Pay me. Who out there? Now, I'm going to ask you this. Do you remember the game? Do you know it? Don't you know it? Do you know it? Because it still exists. It's not like it's far gone. Do you know the game Monopoly? When you land on somebody's land, on Monopoly, what do? You pay them money. Monopoly is built on the American system. which is called capitalism. Where it's on the world system, it's called capitalism. When you land on someone's property, you owe them money. So Chrysler, Ford, Amazon, they have built on your land. So they owe you money. People, listen to me when I say this. You don't want cash. No, I don't want you to write me a check. I want you to give me the land that was stolen from my ancestors. You see, they were not from Africa. They were from here. If your ancestors from Africa, then the government owes you nothing. Nada, zilch, goose egg, not a damn thing. They don't owe you anything. Bottom freaking line, brother, sister, no matter how you slice it. They don't owe you anything as an African American. So stop it. You're not African American. They don't owe you shit. Okay? Well, they brought us from over there. Over from where? Where did they bring you from? Tell me, where? Where did you come from? What country? Now, I trace my country. If you could trace it back, then still, okay, if you come from across the Atlantic, they don't owe you a damn thing, brother. I'm sorry to break the news to you. If you were here, that's what Kanye mean when he say slavery was a choice. Okay. You come over here as an immigrant and choose to work for free. You can't blame anybody for your stupidity for choosing to work for free. But if you an indigenous person here on this land and you had land and someone stole it from you, someone owes you dearly. You're not an immigrant. This was yours. America doesn't owe Africa anything. Anything. But they owe here. They owe you something. We fought here. The Civil War was fought on this land, not on African continent, on this continent. The Seminoles, they fought here. Those white settlers came over here, Caucasian settlers came, and they fought with the Seminoles. They didn't go over there fighting with Africa. They fought with people here and took their land. You're talking prisoners of war. The American indigenous is prisoner of war, prisoner of lying, cheating, stealing, warfare, liefare, conspiracy. See? You've been duped, hoodwinked, lied to, run amok, double-crossed. See? They say, well, you guys were conquered. We beat you fair and square. Yes, in some cases. But in some cases, we were just plain lied to. We were victimized. We were criminalized. We were stolen from. So it wasn't all won and conquered fair and square. If it was fair and square and conquered, we were a conquered nation. I could take that. Okay, I would take that. I'll see the benefit of that. I will see the sense and logic in that. But not all. Some of the land theft was strictly theft. Broken treaties. Theft, thievery, conspiracy. It's not all conquer. So all that land was not won fair and square but at the end of a muzzle. No, it wasn't won fair and square by war. So when black people talk about, well, the Jews had reparations, because it was crimes, it was warfare, it was crimes against humanity. And one's talking about, we dropped the atom bomb, we beat the Japanese fair and square, okay, but you still paid reparations to them, even though you beat them in the midst of a war. You still paid them to help them procure and fix Japan and bring back Japan up to an inhabitable country. There was reparations still paid to someone you beat fair and square, so to speak. So if Japanese can be paid fair and square, why can't we be paid, the indigenous be paid for something that is definitely by theft, just straight pure theft, thievery, and trickery. There was no fair and square when it comes to the land that was taken. So you got to ask yourself, why would they go back to my original point? Why would they go thousands of miles away to get something they already had here? It was not Africans, people. It was us. No more this African American. Stop it. Say, I'm American. I'm American Indian. Say what you are. If you get to one of them people who say, well, you know, the Africans came over and they mixed up and they did this and they did that. Hey, everybody's screw. Everybody's mixed up. Then if you want to say that. But we're going to stick to the point at hand. Not talking about people who are mixed. Everybody with dark skin or could be, I got something, okay. Everyone, to put an end to that, everyone who you say is black, who you call black, is American indigenous. You are not African. You can't call me black and African American. No. I am American. I am indigenous American, just like my ancestors were. That's what you need to get in your head. Stop being so ignorant. Calling yourself African American. You have nothing to do with Africa. Except eons ago. You want to attach yourself to Africa? Yeah, we were mixed with Africa maybe about 30, 40,000 years ago. So, people, that's my rant. Let me know. Hit me in the comments. Let me know what you think. If there are any corrections, anything you like, anything you hate, let me know. Hey, I welcome all comments. I welcome all opinions. So hit me back. Subscribe to the channel. Share and like the content. Baltimore Muscle. Stronger bodies, stronger minds. Out.